toward your dream and your goals. That's the warrior spirit in you. Everybody needs help every now and then. We're not islands, men, and we can't do it by ourselves. If you think you're an island, I tell you what, let God take everybody off this earth and let you stay by yourself and take everything away from you. What, you're not going to survive long. Because, see, God created us for relationships. All right? That's the key. You got to have some type of communication to live, sir. You got to. All right? Man, I hope that y'all getting this here. All right. Protecting, shelters, and defense. So what that means is, we already talked about that. God created man to lead, to protect, and provide. So you as a protector, as a warrior, is to protect those that are around you, not only your family, your friends, all right? It could be your co-workers and people that are not able to stand up for themselves. That's your job as a warrior. To be there in the midst when people need somebody to talk up for them, or to be there for support. That's what the warrior spirit is all about. Hallelujah. Because, see, everybody cannot stand up for themselves. Everybody is not the same. And men, you are supposed to be that strength for them to come to in the midst of their storms. That's what the warrior spirit is all about. But you cannot reclaim it if you don't know who you are in God. You can't reclaim it. See, the enemy took that from you in the garden. He took that spirit from you, the warrior spirit from you. All right? So what you got to do, you have to reclaim it back through God. That's the only way you're going to be able to reclaim that reclaiming spirit. Only way. That warrior spirit. It only comes through God, because God created you as a king, as a warrior. These are characteristics we talk about now. We're on the second one. All right? You got to understand that God put this in you, and it's only through the spirit that you can reclaim it. And then when you know who you are in God, ain't nothing can defeat you. I'm not going to say you ain't going to have no hard times. Yes, you're going to have hard times. But in the midst of those hard times, in the midst of the storms in your life, you'll be able to stand, because you're a warrior. Because God said, he said, the scripture said, if God be for you, who can be against you? Hallelujah. Man, oh man. Providing. Goes back to what we talked about again before. Lead, protect, and provide. You got to be a provide. I'm going to take care of you no matter what it takes. And that's the spirit you got to have, man. That's the warrior spirit. Taking care of those that are around you, and those that you may not be very close to, or that you come in contact with, that you're able to lend a helping hand to somebody. All right? That's what it may take. All right? Persevering. You may have to go through some storms, and you're going to go through them. But you got to persevere through those storms. They're going to come. Some of those storms are going to knock you off your feet, all right? Sometimes you may have to cry sometimes. Sometimes you may have to get down on your knees and pray, and you may have to wipe your brow. You may have to do that, because that's how life is not going to be easy. God did not promise you a rose garden. He never said that. But he did promise you one thing. He said, I will be with you even until the end of the world. Praise be to God. All right, let's get it down. Let's come on down a little bit. We ain't got to go no more. Let's go to the warrior face. Fighting for what matters most. Fighting for what matters most. The warrior face reflects courageous energy or spirit. We talked about the initiative. We talked about protection. We talked about provision or providing. And we talked about perseverance. All right? So let's get a little bit deeper into this and see what's going on. All right? The warrior face is primarily associated with initiative. All right, and we just basically talking about that. Striving after a purpose greater than yourself, assertive, but submitted fully to God. Goes right back. I just said that. You got to be submitted to God, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to get what you want and go after it. Now, I'm not saying you can't go after what you want in the physical, but it's not going to last long. All right. The warrior face fights for what matters most. We got to fight for what matters, what's important. Like I said before, some of us, you may have to stand by yourself. You may have to stand alone. You may have to go up against your family. And you may still have to stand. Sometimes those times are going to come. So you better be prepared, all right? And then your purpose. The warrior face is signified by intentionality. You got to be intentionally focused on what you're trying to achieve, all right? By reclaiming that spirit and stand for what's right and helping those that are around you, because that's what a warrior does. He's there to fight, but he's also there to help, all right, and protect and provide, all right? Let's look at this. Let's look at 1 Corinthians, the 9th chapter, verse 24 to 27. run the race to win. Everybody that's in sports wants to win. Nobody wants to lose, all right? But it says here, fight for the noble things and eternal things. Now, it's all right to win gold medals and to win NBA championships and to win the Super Bowl and the World Series, and if you're on a lower level in college, the collegiate athlete, the NCAA, and all those championships, all those things, even going down to high school, it's all right to win those things, but those things fade. The only things that's going to last, those things that's going to last in eternity, for the things that you do for others. That's the warrior spirit, man. You got to reclaim it to be able to give it. Good God! Do you hear what I just said? I said you got to be able to. Before you be able to give it, you got to receive it from God for you to give it to somebody else. That's how it works. Until you get it, you cannot give, because everybody is born with the warrior spirit. We talked about that with the king within the boy. It's already in there through God's spirit. It's already born within that child. But a true man of God, or a man that has been trained and knows the principles of manhood, that's the only way that young boy is going to understand what it is to be a man. And we talked about this last week, about ceremonies marks the life of that young man. So he has something to look back at. Oh man, I remember that. And I always go back to this when it comes down to the Jewish community. When that young boy becomes 13 years old, he has got to the stage of manhood at 13. They give him a bar mitzvah, because when he gets to that age 13, he's ready, because he has been trained up to that point. And now it's not only just by one man, it's by a group of men that has instilled in him and shown him from history that has been passed down on how to be a true man. And same thing with a young woman, and a butt mitzvah, not bar mitzvah, but butt mitzvah. I hope I'm saying that right. For the female, same thing. All these principles are passed down to these young children. So when they get to a certain age, these ceremonies mark something in their life. All right, all right. Praise be to God. A true warrior's face is not a destructive force. It's not. Don't think about it as we said this earlier. Don't look at your warrior spirit or your warrior face as being destructive. It's not for that, all right? I told you it's on the inside, not on the outside. But it's a positive energy force for accomplishment. There it goes. I'm going to repeat that again. A true warrior face is not a destructive force, but a positive, you hear that word? A positive energy force for accomplishment. It comes naturally but never stays balanced. Okay, so it comes naturally but never stays balanced. So what does that mean about it never stays balanced? What that means is, we talked about, you got to have balance. You're going to have balance. You're going to be off balance certain times in certain situations. You're going to be off balance. But if you know who you are, you can get yourself back on even keel, when you realize, see, because some things can pull you out of balance, and some things can pull you from side to side. Until you understand who the warrior spirit is within you, that's when you can be in balance and be able to balance things and get yourself back in perspective, so you can be able to lead that person that you're trying to help, and also yourself, and understanding who you are and what that warrior spirit means for being inside of you. That way you can be an effective force in somebody else's life. All right? Okay? So let's go down. Life out of balance. Let's talk about this, because we've been talking about balance, right? Let's talk about balance for a little bit. All too often, these horrible faces of manhood are replaced by ugly pictures, and they will be replaced by pictures if we're not in balance and we don't understand the principles and what's going on. All right? The tyrant. You could become a tyrant. All right? What is a tyrant? A person that is very abusive, always nagging and pressing people and doing things that's upsetting the people. You can become a tyrant. You can, very easily. An abdicator. What's an abdicator? That's someone who compromised himself and surrendered to righteousness. See, you got to understand that you cannot be a compromiser to be successful in life. You can't be. You can't. When I mean say that, you probably say, well, can't you got to compromise on some things. Yes, you do. But when it comes to your principles, when it comes to your convictions, and when it comes to your Your principles and your principles. That's what I can say it right. Stop right there. When it comes to those things, you cannot be a compromiser. Yes, you have to compromise in your marriage. You got to compromise in your family with your children. Some things you compromise with them, help them out. Y'all compromise back and forth. You got to compromise on your job to get along with your coworkers. Yes, to get things accomplished. Yes, you do. But when it comes to your character, when it comes to your principles and things of that nature, you cannot compromise on that. You cannot. Because if you do, then you're giving up what God has instilled within you. All right? You can't do that, man. You cannot be a compromiser or abdicator. A destroyer. You can become a destroyer. What does that mean? You can become abusive and harsh. Cursing people out, very abusive language, the way you may treat people, not with respect. All right? You can do those things. And it hurts themselves as well as your family and everybody else that's around you. All right? You become a wimp. You know what a wimp is? All right. Someone who just gives up and gives in all the time. All the time. Gives up and gives. You can't be that. If you're going to recognize and understand what that warrior spirit is within you, then you can't be a wimp. Now, I can't say that. I will say that wimp person or the wimpy person, he can become stronger, but he has to be around strong men that can instill in him and make him stronger by mentoring him and taking him underneath their wing and training that young man. All right? It's going to take some time. Everybody's not the same. So sometimes you're going to have some patience with people that you come across like that. It could be in your family. It could be for other friends that you may know. All right? And those things that you're going to have to take some time with to help that person to build that strength within them. It's going to take some time. All right? So it's going to take some patience with that. All right? You can become critical and harsh. All right? That's true. You can. You can become critical and harsh. I ain't gonna go no further than that. You can become cold and withdrawn. Sometimes we as men, we do that. We like to be withdrawn from situations because we don't like to communicate. We don't like to talk. So we rather isolate ourselves. We're gonna play a game on television. You know that my grandson got that Xbox 360. Now he just got one of those. My brother-in-law gave him a machine to him last weekend. He went to New Jersey. So, we isolate ourselves because we're not communicators. Women are communicators. We're not. So we can do more harm, all right, than we do good if we don't know who we truly are. When we isolate ourselves, we don't know who the spirit is within us, the God spirit that's in us, all right, the warrior spirit, then we can do more harm than we do good. All right? A loner, the friendless American. The friendless American male, somebody that wants to be by himself. In certain instances, I'm a loner. I like being by myself because and I say that. I don't say that in a bad way. I say that sometimes because certain people, how can somebody tell me how to make $1 million if they never made $1 million? Why should I hang around people that have not achieved what I want to achieve? Then I can't hang around them because actually what's going to happen, that pulls you down in the long run. You got to get around people. I told Brother Josh this last week. We were talking about this, and I told him one of my mentors, Dr. Mike Murdoch, makes a very, very powerful statement. He said, don't hang around people that tolerate you. Hang around people that celebrate who you are. And that's powerful because what that means is, people will tolerate you just for a little while or tolerate you for what you have and what they're getting out of you, all right? Don't hang around those people. Hang around the people that celebrate who you are and what you're trying to achieve, that's willing to assist you, those that are encouraging you, those that are giving you words of encouragement and praising you for the good things that you do and being there for you when you need them. Those are the people that you need to hang around because that's what's going to bring that warrior spirit out of you. It's going to turn your way of thinking around. That way when somebody else is in need that needs that encouraging word, they'll come to you because, somebody else seen that in you. All right? So what I said before, to receive, you must give. If you can't give, if you never receive, it works both ways. All right? It's a two-edged sword. It works both ways. Giving and receiving. Giving, receiving. Giving, receiving. All right? All right, man, this is huge stuff here. All right, let's go. And lastly, life out of balance, a user. You can become a user, using other people to your advantage. You get what you want when you want it, and then dispose of their friends after if they don't have nothing that you need, then you get rid of them. All right, you become that, and that's very, very, very powerful because we as men, we want to be accepted. All right, we want to be accepted. And so what we feel is what we have may draw people to us and appreciate it, or they want to be around us because of things that we have, that we may be successful, or we have accomplished certain things. We want that accolade. We want to be appreciated for those things that we've done. But in the long run, sometimes we use that to our advantage, not the advantage of others, and we use them just for our own glorification. All right, and that's not the right way to do that. All right, so let's move on here. Because of our morally compromised culture, many men today lack a king face, which is true. Without a king, the warrior becomes unrestrained, out of control. All right, there he goes, hurting lives, including his own, in the process. We just talked about that a minute ago. All right. If someone has a strong warrior face and weak king face, he will eventually get out of control. We just said that. He begins to cheat, rob, fornicate, beat, abuse, and overindulge because there is no king riding over the warrior. You got to have somebody in charge of you. All right, men, you got to understand, you got to learn to submit. All right, you got to learn to submit to somebody over you, another man that you're going to be accountable to. That's what MSF is all about. We have to learn to be accountable. That's how each and all these brothers that was in the organization, we have to learn to be accountable to one another. And that's what simplify means. All right, we need to learn how to be accountable to one another. We need to be there for one another. We got to learn how to show ourselves friendly. All right, we got to do that. And simplify means always faithful. We as men need to learn how to be faithful to one another as men. But the society has drawn us away from that. We only have to concentrate on me, myself, and I. And that's how we as men, we have fallen from grace over the last 50 to 100 years. Because it's all about us. It's not about other people. That's why we suffer so much in things that we do. Until we understand the principles of reclaiming our warrior spirit through God, then we are not going to be able to serve anybody else. Because now you're only going to be self-serving. And when you're in that position, and when you start thinking like that, eventually you'll destroy yourself. All right? I hope you got that. All right. All right, let's go on. What shapes a man? What shapes a man? Okay, let's deal with this point right here. Our world is desperate for the four-faced balance of real manhood, which we really need. There is a north and there's a south, right? There's an east and there's a west. There's a spring, there's a summer, there's a fall, and there's a winter. There's earth, wind, and fire, and water. All the principles of that we see in this world, right? But four pieces to offer balance in our lives is, in which we as men, we got to take hold of. We got to have these characteristics to be whole in God and to feel and have our significance in ourselves. First, we got to be a king. We have to have the warrior spirit. We have to learn how to be a friend. And lastly, we got to learn how to be a lover. And that covers a whole lot. We're going to deal next week. We're going to deal with the friend part of it, all right? So let's continue down with what shapes a man. What shapes a man? The unexamined life isn't worth living, all right? As men, we are all carrying baggage or wounds that have shaped who we are. And that is so true. And you know, that's what MSF is based on. You know, all of us as men have had some traumatic experiences in our life, and that shaped us who we are. And what happens is, instead of us dealing with it, we cover it up with a band-aid, and we don't deal with it, or we'll put it in a compartment in our mind, and we'll lock that door and throw that key away, and we won't deal with it. See, so that's what happens is, and that's why it's so hard for men to communicate, because we were taught at a very young age that we're supposed to be strong, we're supposed to have it all together, and we are not supposed to show any emotion. All right, so that's what hurts us as men, is because we are carrying all this baggage around, but we never release that baggage. We never drop it off or get rid of it and throw it into the dumpster. All that baggage that we're carrying is stinking. It's stinking garbage and baggage that we're carrying, and it's stinking up our lives on the inside. That's why we can't understand, or how can we reclaim our warrior spirit, and we got all this stinking stuff in us. We got to get rid of that stinking stuff before we can realize who we are in God and who we are as the man God created us to be the king. We have to be submissive to somebody, and then out of being a young boy and understand what the king is, growing into a warrior and understanding what it is to be and have that warrior spirit, not physically but spiritually, so what's on the inside comes out on the outside when we're trying to help everybody and trying all those people around us to try to have an impact in their lives. All right? I hope y'all getting this. Good God from Zion. Woo! Man, this is huge. All right. Dealing with the baggage. 1, we're dealing with society. 2, we're dealing with family influences. And